Hello, this is Jakey, and today I'll be teaching you guys how to retrieve data from a Google Sheets using Google Apps Script and how to use that data to update another Google Sheets using Google Apps Script. So we're going to be retrieving data from this list of volunteers for the past for 3 months, and we'll be using this list to track how many hours each person has in this sheet. So to start off, I'd like to show you guys how to get into the Google Apps Script app. So you have to go to extensions and you have to click app script. And so here it should be blank or have some starter code. And I'm going to start off with writing a function or creating a function get called calculate hours. And from here, I'm going to use this line of code to actually store the data. Okay, it's going to be using this method get active spreadsheet to store the data on the spreadsheet we're on into this variable SS here. Then using the variable SS, we'll be using get sheet by name method to actually get the specific sheet we want from the spreadsheet. And we're going to be getting the example sheet, which is the sheet we're on. And from here, we can actually start getting some values and some data. So we're going to start off with getting the amount of rows and columns we have. And we can actually test these methods to see if they work. So dot get last row and dot get last column should return the amount of rows and columns we have. If we run this, oh, and I forgot to mention the logger.log method. It basically just prints what you put into it. So also, the first time you're trying to retrieve data from your spreadsheet, it will actually ask for permission. So you have to click the review permission button and select your account, and then you have to allow it. And so it printed, oh, so it printed 14 and 2, which looks right. We do have 14 rows and 2 columns. So it looks like the code worked. And using those values, we can actually get a range for the data we want to collect. So dot get range, starting from 2 to the last row and last column, will um actually store the range of the values from starting from the second row and second column. We're doing this because we don't actually need the first row or first column, as there are no useful information or values in those rows and columns. So we're not gonna include the first row and first column. And then we're gonna actually use this range to create a 2D array by using the get values method, which will get all the values in this range and store it into all values, the 2D array. And now we're gonna create another array, office data, which will store tabular data on how many hours each person has later on. Now we're gonna start with for loop. So this for loop will actually it'll run through every row in all values. So and then we'll store all the rows into current row. And from there, we're actually gonna store the first index of every row. And I said first index, even though there is a 0 here, it's because Google Apps Script is 0 index based. So the when I put 0 here, it should store the first first index. And since we did start at the second row and second column, the the first index should be the second column here, and we actually test this. Oh, to oh yeah, let me add this here to see if this is working. And it looks like it did store all the names, which is the first index of our range. And from there, we can actually use the if statement to check if all the names are not blank, are not undefined, or no class, which you can see some of the names are blank and no classes, and we do not want those values. So if the name is not blank, not undefined, or not a no class, then we can start tracking the hours. So we're gonna set a variable called hours to 1, and we're gonna use this to lowercase trim method to remove all the extra spaces after in case there are any extra spaces after someone's name. And then from here we will use an if else statement to store and track everyone's hours. So how it works is the if statement will check if the array office data has an office name initialized under it. And if it's not initialized, it'll come down here to else statement and it'll initialize the variable hours into office name. So how it works is, for example, Minnie here, the first time her name appears, this if statement will try to run and it'll fail because her the office name Minnie does not have any thing initialized under it. So then it'll come down here to the else statement and it'll initialize uh the the office name to hours 1, right? And the second time her name appears, the if statement will run and it will actually add another hour to her name to the data stored under her name actually. And so eventually she will end off with 2 hours, and that should be it for calculate hours. And we're actually gonna use a for loop down here to uh to check if what we did was right. Okay, so no other logger methods. So this logger method here will actually print the officer name plus the the row it's on and tell us how many hours they have. Let's go run it. So Mini has 2 hours and everyone else is looks like it worked. Thank you for watching, and I'll be creating a part 2 for update hours.